Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and today this is my brutal key that I did for the first ever Hydra Clash in Raid Shadow Legends. I think I've got a couple of champions in here that might surprise you, or well, I guess Lanicus is sort of in the spotlight very much now because of the whole corpulent cadaver thing that's happening at the moment. But certainly Sigmund, the High Shield, I think this is an underrated champion that people won't expect. So let me look at this key with you. Let me show you the synergies that we've built in this team, why I chose these champions, how I built them to work in this team, and also some ideas I would have for how to improve this moving forwards. Like, can I do better? I actually think I probably could, and what I'm going to be trying next time to push this even further. One thing also to note is that I did improve some of the gear slightly. I'm a bit delayed. I ended up just taking the weekend off and having just a really nice, just actual weekend. That was great. So this is why this video is a little bit late coming out. And some of the gear slightly improved on a couple of champions since recording this, I think. More so for the Nightmare team as opposed to this particular team. What do we have going on in here? Well, we've got a couple of well-known S-tier champions. In fact, a few sort of well-known S-tier Hydra champions. Nekmothar, obviously here, he is in the lead. He gives us speed aura. He's AoE increase speed, AoE decrease speed, AoE decrease attack, AoE leech. So helping us stay alive and keeping us moving super fast and giving us really good control over the Hydra. In fact, let me pause this for 1 second and let me come back. Okay, we are back. I wanted to get my little document up here that we have been referencing. Let me actually make this smaller and put it to the side so it's not in the way of anything very important. There we go. So you can still see the run happening. Oh, my head's in the way. Well, I'll move for when it's important. This is the little document I use for building every single team. These were the things that were, for me, mandatory to have in every single team. And there can be variety, like HP burn and stuff is really good, but it's not mandatory. So Nekmothar, he is bringing us so much that's crucial. Decrease, increase speed. That's fantastic. I have him in a provoke set, or taunting set, whatever it's called. I don't even know anymore. There's too many variations, too many synonyms of provoke in the game. It's too confusing. He's in a provoke set. He places provoke, right? And he also brings us decrease attack for survivability. So he's bringing us 4 of these crucial things. In fact, you could really probably split decrease, increase speed into their own things. That's absolutely massive. Ugo, another well-known S-tier epic. She's bringing in block buffs and decreased defense. She's also bringing us some healing for survivability and some cleansing, which is not essential, but is nice. It is nice. We've got quite a bit of healing from the leech that Nekmothar is placing, but the Ugo healing is a nice complement. We have Michinaki, also well-known S-tier champion. He's bringing us the Hex. He's also bringing us decreased defense. We're doubling up there. He's also bringing us decreased attack, so we are doubling up there as well. For this team, actually, my other Michinaki that I use on Nightmare is built also in a provoke set. But for this team, because we've got Nekmothar, who's an amazing champion provoke set, especially with Shamael, we also have Sigmund the High Shield bringing provokes. So that sort of meant that we didn't need to build this Michinaki in a provoke set at all. And he's actually fantastic in Relentless. We have him in Relentless to try crank out extra damage because we don't need him doing the provokes, which is something he's good at, but we don't need it here. Like I said, Sigmund the High Shield, he comes in. He has AoE decrease attack. So we have 3 champions that can place decrease attack. It's a bit overkill, honestly. But he has decrease attack and provoke on a 3-turn cooldown. He also brings us just raw survivability in terms of a shield and a strengthen, which I thought was important to try to stay alive on the harder difficulties and just to make this consistent. I did try a couple of different variations using other champions instead of Sigmund, and I found that, honestly, that shield with the strengthen is just really nice to make it lovely and consistent. And he can also remove buffs as well if any buffs sneak through, although with Michinaki doing that, that's not too important. So there you go. We also have got, of course, Inquisitor Shamael. He's coming in, he's providing us the anti-fear, and I think he's doing some backup mischief tanking. Lanicus the Chosen, she is our mischief tank, and she's also giving us turn meter and extending our buffs. So again, that's really nice to try and make that strengthen a bit more consistent. We've got turn meter boosts from both Lanicus and from Nekmothar, so all of that stuff sort of comes together and is pretty good. Funny enough, probably the main thing the Sigmund shield ends up doing in a lot of this run is actually just mitigating the damage of the poison, because we don't have block debuffs. So we all do get poisoned from the Head of Blight. We don't have decreased accuracy. The shield does a really good job of mitigating the poison, which is pretty nice. One slight downside with the team, both Michinaki and Sigmund are pretty decent defense-based damage dealers, but we don't have an increased defense. And you can see we're certainly being beaten up a fair bit, which is why I thought the Sigmund, there you go, the Sigmund shield comes on, and then suddenly the team is looking a lot more stable. It buys you that time to very comfortably heal up with the leech. Yeah, I think Sigmund is the surprise pick that people really underestimate. But look, a 3-turn cooldown, decrease attack, provoke, plus a 3-turn cooldown, shield and strengthen. It's a very, very nice toolkit. It's not OP, you know, it's not a Crizia, but it's just really solid. Really, really solid for the Hydra here. And I did find, unfortunately, this rotation, the head of Decay, he is Force Affinity, so Sigmund can weak hit. So that's a bummer. However, I still found that for the most part, between him and Nekmothar in a Provoke set, for the most part, they were actually very good at locking down the head of Decay. And honestly, having that extra Provoke in there, I felt gave it a bit more consistency compared to just running the pure just provoke sets, which are quite random. You got some consistent, like right here, I think this had, oh no, we got the provoke last second. That kind of happens. We get so much turn meter. It can definitely happen. Even when all appears lost, like Nekmo's getting like, when I thought he was going to take a turn, Nekmo's got 2 attacks in, make that 3 attacks in at this point. And there we got Sigmund come in as well. So with all the turn meter and the speed control, it functions quite a bit sort of better than you would think. We've hit the 1 key there. It took about 10 minutes. I can't remember. I was maybe doing targeting heads that devoured champions. I can't remember on this run. But I didn't do too much targeting. It worked mostly full auto. So that's the team. That's the concept. Pretty solid stuff. Now, what I did, I stuck this into the Hell Hades optimizer to see some ideas for alternative teams. And there's actually a couple that really stood out to me. So obviously we've got the whole Corpulent Cadaver exploit thing. I've covered that already, and it's not something I'm that interested in doing, and I do expect it to be nerfed. But I saw this team, for instance, might be a really big upgrade. So actually bringing in a Newt and a Michinaki, so 2 big damage dealers. That is something that's lacking in this team. We've got good control. We've got good consistency. Very consistent, really. Very, very safe. Very, yeah, just beautiful and smooth. But we are lacking on the damage, right? We could build Shamael with more damage, but this team is actually bringing in 2 big damage dealers. And then instead of they're bringing in Bivald, basically, instead of bringing Bivald, instead of, oh, click the wrong thing, instead of the Lanicus. So Bivald can Mischief Tank, and instead of the Sigmund, he can Mischief Tank with Strengthen buff, and he can also taunt really well. He also does a bit of a shield with his A3, and he heals up your team as well. So he's bringing some of that healing. And then we actually have Shamrock giving us increased defense, which is upping the damage, and doing the increased speed, decreased speed. So I thought that was a pretty cool one. And the nice thing about this is that probably the best champion on this team is Nekmothar, and we're not actually using him, which means we could use Nekmothar for a different team. So that one was pretty interesting. There's only one fight, and it did go very long, so maybe crazy gear, but the damage was nuts. The damage drops off a lot then after that. This team was also pretty interesting with a Razzlevarg. That was cool, but I've used Krisk for Nightmare, so I couldn't do that. I could probably have done this team here, and this did about 150 million, or this team with Elva instead. So I might definitely come back next week and fiddle around with it and see what we could do. Like, a lot of these teams are running Newt. I would love to get Newt in here and figure out how to get him working without a Mischief Tank. You know, could we make it work? Is it going to be a problem? Is he just going to be targeted by Mischief? How do we make it work? I think we could definitely do some fun stuff with that. So there's actually several teams in here, lots that were actually outperforming this particular team. They did more than this team did. If we skip on ahead, I'll show you how it did. So I was happy with it in the end. I can't remember exactly how it ended, but yeah, we fell apart around about, yeah, we did 105 million. I think this team should honestly do a pretty consistent 100+ million per run. It should be pretty safe on doing that. You can see the damage numbers at the end. This is why I'm talking about. I think to upgrade the team would be looking to maybe, I don't know. Yeah, trying to get in a second damage dealer, especially with Michinaki, to duplicate it with the Hex. Like, Shamael is not really built for damage. I think that sort of shows. But yeah, limited the damage a bit. But 105 million, I'm still happy with it. It's a good key, but this is the one I really want to improve out of all the teams. I'd love to try push this, honestly, up to probably 150 million for Brutal. Something probably my goal moving forwards. Gave us 315 million Clash points, which is actually the lowest of my 3 keys. Hard and Nightmare gave me more. But yeah, you can see Necmo, 15 million. I do have him in 6-star Cruelty to up the damage. We've got Sigmund. He's bringing in the Brimstone. Lanicus actually probably technically would be better with Lightning Cage, so I might switch her over to that just to make her Mischief tanking more consistent, though she's actually pretty darn good Mischief tank for the most part. And Michinaki sadly does not have a Blessing. Ugo is with the turn meter boost when she gets debuffed. I thought that was fun to try out, and I was actually pretty happy with it. I think that's a really nice blessing for her. I honestly felt like Miracle Heal wasn't really doing anything. And Shamail's just there. So let me show you the builds for these champions. Let me full screen this. I was just doing some Sand Devil because I'm ahead of all the fusion stuff. By the way, tune in tomorrow. We'll be live for Clan versus Clan, so come hang out for that. Should be pretty fun. We'll chat about stuff. Nekmothar, here he is. So he's coming in 285 speed. I've really cranked his speed up a lot, probably since the last time you saw. Healthy, he's just looking to go really fast and be fairly tanky and have decent accuracy. I did have him running with Brimstone, but I actually switched it over to Cruelty. This gives him attack and crit damage, HP, and obviously the speed. But I just thought that this, decreasing defense by 4% per hit, so 20% decreased defense on bosses, I thought that would really up our damage a lot. It's probably the way to go. And you just bring in like a 1-star Brimstone with somebody else. That being said, as you can see, we don't have the hardest hitting champions. So I feel like this team doesn't take full advantage of that. And I think even with Newt's A3 sort of clashes, it doesn't stack with Cruelty, but still, this was a fun thing to try out, and I was pretty impressed. But let me know, what blessings would you run on a 6-star Necmo? This one gives him more damage. Brimstone obviously makes him tankier, and he can do a guaranteed protected smite, and he gets bonus accuracy as well, which is pretty nice. Apart from that, there's nothing that super stands out. I feel like they are the two. But, I mean, let me know what you think. What would you run if you had him at 6-star? We had Sigmund, the High Shield then. I think the surprise pick of this particular team. Where is Sigmund? Oh, he's 2-star. So Sigmund was bringing in our Brimstone. And Sigmund, he was just, in speed and perception, righteous and perception gear. So he was coming in at 252 speed. Bit of resistance, bit of accuracy. Actually quite high resistance from not planned. It just is. I guess he got some off that... whatever the righteous set. But he's fairly tanky, 100% crit rate, a bit of crit damage. So yeah, his damage isn't crazy, but it's okay. He sort of needs a lot of stats, right? Because he needs the accuracy to do his thing. You want him to be fast. And he needs HP to make his shield better, but his damage scales off defense. So he sort of needs a lot of stats, which is why I dropped the crit damage to get his HP and his defense higher to make him, just a bit more tankier and make his shield a little bit stronger. I didn't show the masteries on Necmo. These are the masteries for Sigmund. So War Master and making him more consistent at his debuffs. And War Master for Nekmothar and making his buffs and debuffs last longer because they're 100%. I don't know. With Sigmund, I can maybe come in and take Lasting Gifts, make the Strengthen last a bit longer. That might be a good idea, but the team was tanky enough, so I didn't feel like it was needed this time around. Where is Lanicus? She might be in the vault. Lanicus always ends up in the vault by accident, and I don't know why. Yeah, there she is. She's in the vault. Who knows why? She just ends up in there. I think we will actually... She's giving us a tiny bit of speed, but I think it's actually irrelevant. I do think Lightning Cage is going to be better. That Lightning Orb just make her a bit more consistent. So let's swap her over right now for next time. I think that's going to improve her. And she is 253 speed. Would love to get this faster, but really, really high resistance and crit rate as well. That's going to let her keep spawning in these continuous heals when she crits and let her mischief tank. And I absolutely love her for this. She's a brilliant mischief tank that is bringing in ally attack for extra damage, big turn meter boosts, and ally buff extension. Reflex really improves her as well. Just gets that ally attack out more frequently. And we just turn off her A3. We don't want it. Her masteries are like so. So extending buffs and War Master for a bit extra damage. Next up then, who else did we have in here? We had Michinaki number 2. I think since then I've marked him as Michinaki number 2, and if I haven't, then I should. Yeah, there we go. He's now got a Proud 2, so these are his masteries. He's coming in with Relentless and Perception, so he has got nice high speed, 99% crit rate, and like Sigmund, a bit of crit damage. I wasn't too focused on cranking it high, especially for this key where I don't even have increased defense. He's just got solid base defense, solid HP. He's just sort of fast and accurate, and trying to pump out his damage. Like, I really do prioritize the speed, especially with Relentless, you know, trying to, well, any set actually, honestly, with him. Prioritizing speed, just cycling through his abilities as much as possible. But yeah, he's top tier. Really big fan of Michinaki. He's so good. Then we've Ugo and Shamail. So this was Tugo. My second Ugo is this one. I've got one in Miracle Heal. I've got one in Survival. I like Survival Instinct. She gets 5% turn meter whenever a debuff is placed on her. It only happens once per turn, but it's not bad, right? It could go up, but you could easily probably get it to 7%. It's not much, you know, but I thought it was kind of all right. The turn meter fill has no turn restriction, so every time she gets debuffed, she gets a bit. I just thought, you know, if she gets provoked or you get heal reduction or whatever goes on her, just getting back to a turn, I said I'd try it out, and it seemed okay. It's not, you know, it's not amazing, but there's no hugely amazing blessings for an Ugo. Like Cruelty, she mean okay with Cruelty, or then Miracle Heal to try fix destroyed max HP, but it's so weak, it's so bad that I don't know. I thought I like this. I liked it, to be honest. She is in Relentless, and again, fairly standard. Good speed, good accuracy, lots of HP and defense. Try keep her alive because she is a bit squishy with that Relentless, you know. And higher HP gives her a bigger heal. So that's always nice. And her masteries are like this. And then finally, this was, I believe it was Shamail number 2. Or was it? No, this must have been Shamail number 3, I guess, in a Guardian set. Because I think we used Shamail number 2 for the first key on hard. So is this Shamail? So he's in a bit of a mixed build. Like he's got a bit of crit rate, speed. Not a big fan of this build, to be honest. I'd rather drop his speed down, build him as a backup mischief tank, and be able to crank his damage a bit higher. But yeah, really drop that speed down. I don't think that this team needed the tankiness, honestly. But I just didn't bother rebuilding any Shamails this week. But it's something I'll come back to next week for sure. So I definitely would redo this build. And these were his masteries. Like you can see, this sort of mediocre damage build is not contributing much damage, really. Like it's doing a bit, but not much. So I definitely am going to come back to the Shamails and build them slower. Probably more like the Shamail number 2. So, you know, lowering their speed, high resistance. But again, I want to build them with more damage, probably. Just try to squeeze out some bigger hits. Matters more if you got increased attack. When you're with a team with increased attack, it's a lot stronger. When you don't have increased attack, you can build them more like this, where you're like, he's just got whatever sort of damage. So there you are. That is the whole team. Let me know what you think. I thought it was just fun for me to bring in Sigmund, who I think is pretty underrated, and he's a very solid champion. Like I said, I think it's a really solid team, and it's super consistent. It's so consistent. It just goes in and it blitzes it, and there's almost nothing that can go wrong, honestly. Almost nothing. I guess the worst thing that could happen if there was a lot of Force Affinity heads, we're running lots of Magic Affinity, but like that's about it. But it's just very consistent. The damage is lovely. It's a solid team, but maybe I'll try run something a bit more risky next time to push that damage higher because, yeah, it's good damage, but we can do more. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and I'll see you probably tomorrow for Nightmare Hydra. I'll show you my Nightmare team, and we'll see how we did on that one. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you all next time. Actually, before we go, let me jump into... Let me show you what other people have done in my clan. We are being smashed, by the way, in Hydra Clash. We are being smashed. Like we're almost catching up with this third place team in terms of score, but they've got like 13 extra keys to use. So I think we're coming fourth. It looks like it's not going too well. Like these guys are just miles ahead. Like Immortal Elite, they went all out. They've got crazy teams. So it's tough. I've definitely found it tough myself. Yeah, like honestly, without a Chrysia for Nightmare, you know, that's just a lot of points you're not getting. It's a lot of points you're not getting. So for Brutal, give you an idea of some of the other teams guys in the clan we're using. Like for example, right here, I have all those champions. They're not being used. I could put this in and do 150 million. So that's definitely my goal next time. Like I don't have those champions from the top 2. Again, I've used Krisk elsewhere. Yeah, I've used most of these elsewhere, but like I could have built this, not this one. I could have built the chunk team and used that and been good with it. So you can see this team, again, 2 damage dealers. It adds up. It really adds up to a lot. And he's got Necmothar and Relentless because he's got a Biffled, which is, again, pretty nice. Just getting even more turns and more turn meter. So yeah, all sorts of things to consider. Yeah, this is my team. 105, not bad. And we've got some other teams in here as well from folks. All great scores. But yeah, it's tough. Hydra Clash is tough, guys. It's tough. But yeah, I will see you all next time. Goodbye.